Hello, this is Anthony. Let's walk and talk. So today we're going to talk about the algorithm. Yes, the big bad algorithm. And we're going to talk about how to use the algorithm in your favor and not against you. You see, the algorithm is no different than any other technology. And technology has pluses and minuses, positives and negatives. There are positives and negatives in everything because we live in duality. Just like there's left, there's right, there's up, and there's down. You see, but when you start to understand this stuff, you start to understand how, from a conscious perspective, these things have value to you. Now, again, let's talk about the algorithm. How can you use it to elevate yourself rather than to be part of your downfall? You see, when you go into any type of situation from an unconscious perspective, what you're really doing is you are really creating a space where you're just allowing yourself, again, to be the victim of circumstance, to be the victim of all things. And in that victimhood, essentially what you're doing is you're opening yourself up to have whatever experience is going to happen, and usually it's from the programmed aspect, so it's to the benefit of someone else. What do I mean by that? Always ask that question because that's where the answers come. What I mean by that is this. What I mean by that is that if the algorithm is created in order for you to be locked into the platform for a longer or an extended period of time. And so what it does is it takes a look at what your viewership is, what your current viewership is in terms of the content that you watch, and why that's important for you and how you use it to your benefit is this. You see, most people don't understand that their programmed self creates a set of rules that they run by, just like anything else. And when you want to make changes in your life, you have to start to change those rules. What do I mean by that? Well, change occurs when you start to change the essentially the neurons in your brain to create new neural pathways to make the new norm that you want to be the norm. And I'm going to give you some examples of how you use the algorithm in your benefit here. You see, we've talked about this in the past. Psychology states that people who are positive thinkers have a much more positive outcome in life. Say hi to my new friend here.
Hola.
Hola.
Chile.
Chile. So people who have a positive outlook on life, they live a more happy life. They live a more powerful life. They become more open to change, open to growth, open to understanding and suggestion. On average, people who are positive thinkers live 15% longer than those who are negative. They have a different outlook on life. Now, some people try to use the term toxic positivity. Okay, look, here's the thing. Positivity is positivity. Just like femininity is femininity and masculinity is masculinity. We create these terms toxic to normalize different types of thinking and to destabilize different thought processes. What do I mean by that? Well, like some people say, well, if you have toxic positivity, you never look at the negative, so you're bypassing things. Well, you can do that with everything. You see, the thing about being positive and the importance in it is a lot of times people who are positive are going to look at a situation in a way to help them to grow, to help them to evolve. And not in all situations, but in most. Why? Because they understand the events in a different manner. Some people would say, maybe I'm overly optimistic or positive now. The former version of me was not, very, very much negative. But when I look at things from a positive perspective, what I'm understanding is that things are being brought into I am attracting certain events or situations in order to help me see where I am on the journey and in order to help me to grow and evolve. Well, why do I say that? I say that because the more that things begin to happen and you accept them as they are, the more you begin to see different perspectives and outcomes that benefit you. And when that occurs, you can do nothing but make positive changes in your life. So how do you use the algorithm for that? Well, we're going to start by giving you some examples. What happens with the algorithm is when you go and look at certain content, whether it's, most people look at negative content. They'll look at things like they'll see on the news, or they'll look at certain political beliefs. They'll look at things that resonate with their current situation. Well, the problem with that is it's going to bring all that same information up. Every time you look at certain information, the algorithm logs it. And when it logs it, it begins to feed you that same exact information. Let's use politics as an example. Let's say in the United States, the current president, most people aren't a big fan of him. So if you look at a lot of anti-Trump or maybe anti-conservative information, it's going to feed you a bunch of anti-conservative or anti-Trump information. If you look at the opposite occurs. Hopefully you understand the concept there. Now, the way you use it in your favor is when you want to make changes. Let's say you want to be more positive. You stop looking at that shit. And you force yourself in the moment to resist looking at it and only look at things that uplift you. Only look at things that are positive. It doesn't take very long for the algorithm to pick up on that. It says, oh, this person wants to see sunshine, rainbows, flowers, and kittens. That's what keeps them on the platform longer. So I'm going to show them more of these same things. You see, when you want to start to shift your mindset, and let's say you want to shift it from more of a pessimistic or a negative perspective into something more optimistic and positive, then you start seeking out and searching content that is positive and optimistic. Now, it's not just looking at stuff that, well, let me look at positive stuff about the direction that our country's going. No. You see, because that's going to eventually take you right back down the same loop. No, what you want to do is you want to start looking at positive content in your feed from, like creators who talk about the beauty in life, things that resonate from a positive or beautiful perspective. You start looking at these things. You start, let's say, for instance, people who are in your friends list on Facebook who always put out, negative or political information, you just unfollow them. As you see friends or whatnot who have that positive outlook, you start to follow them. And sooner or later, with just a little bit of effort, the algorithm picks up that you're shifting your mindset. And in order to keep you on the platform, it needs to show you that type of content. And when that happens, all of a sudden now what happens is your brain is going to start attaching itself more to the positive messages, to the positive aspects of life, to the beauty of life. It's going to start shifting away from the negative because you're using the algorithm for your benefit to help you ascend. When you start looking at more information about consciousness, about how the universe works, about certain things like quantum mechanics and how we interact with this platform that we exist on. You start looking at all these things. This is the information that you're going to start receiving more data on. This is when you're going to start to understand your experience differently, whether you want to use psychology, whether you want to use science, or whether you want to use spirituality, or as I enjoy, all three. You see, and when that happens, you're going to start seeing a shift in the way you look at the world, the way you look at life, and the way you look at yourself. Now, this doesn't mean that you want to continue to be locked into social media and that's where you want to stay. No, we're just using the social media for a purpose at this point. We're using purpose to help you to shift yourself into a state of abundance and into a state of more of a positive mental outlook. We're wanting to shift the ego from the negative aspect of ego to the positive aspect of ego. Now, in the end, it's still ego, and that's a journey of its own, and that journey requires healing, and that journey requires dealing with your trauma and growth and evolution. However, if you find yourself stuck in a position where you just need to make any kind of a change to get you going in the right direction, that's what I would do. The other thing I would do is, as you explore these positive aspects of life, start exploring the aspects of consciousness. As you explore the aspects of consciousness, you'll begin to understand better who you are. And when you understand better who you are, then eventually the answers are going to come and you're not going to require social media. Eventually, that positive aspect of you is going to see why being on social media does not benefit you, and you're going to limit it more. And you're going to start trusting your gut more. You're going to start trusting your intuition more. You're going to start interacting with your environment around you. And you're going to start experiencing life completely different. You'll start asking yourself a lot of these deeper questions, the ones that we talk about on this channel. But what say you? Do you feel like you can take the algorithm and use it to your benefit? I'm curious. As always, if you enjoy this content, please like, share, and subscribe. I am truly grateful. And until I talk to you again, peace, love, light. I hope you have the most amazing day.